Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Startup Growth Podcast. I am your host, David Phillips, the founder and CEO at Fondo. And today we have a very special guest. We have Roy Lee, the founder and CEO of Pike and Interview Coder. We're going to talk all about Roy's background and history, all the way back to when he learned how to code while being in high school, getting accepted to Harvard, then getting his offer rescinded, going to community college, continuing to work on his coding journey and start shipping apps, one of which he launched recently after he transferred to Columbia. Interview Coder has gone super viral all over X with millions of impressions around Roy's story and the launch of this application. He's grown to 10,000 MRR and is continuing to grow the business. Speaking of growing your business, I want to tell you a little bit about my company, Fondo. Fondo is the all-in-one accounting platform for startups. We support over 1,000 companies like Roy's company, like PostHog, 11 Labs, to get your bookkeeping done, taxes filed, and cash back from the IRS. There's an upcoming tax deadline on April 15th. And so if it would be helpful for us to do the taxes for you, check us out at tryfondo.com. And now let's talk about Roy's story a little bit more. He is only 21 years old. His post about Interview Coder has gone viral. Amazon is one of the companies that he got an offer from through using his software, Interview Coder. We're going to jump into how Amazon is forcing his university to try to expel him. So lots of crazy stories going on here, talking about Roy's growth as a founder, growing his startups, and really excited to jump in. So without further ado, let's meet Roy. All right, Roy Lee, founder and CEO of Interview Coder, founder and CEO of a new startup that we're going to learn all about. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where are you at right now?
Thanks for having me. I'm in the Columbia dorms, so they kicked me out still.
Oh man, so you're in the Columbia dorms. There's a lot of nonsense going on with Columbia. I know we'll get to that. I'm excited to get to that. And before we jump into that, I would love to start with sort of your origin story. So you grew up in Georgia, and you got accepted to Harvard. You're in high school. Were you working? Were you already a hacker in high school? And tell us about the story about what was happening in your life when you get accepted to Harvard and then rescinded.
Yeah, I was pretty entrepreneurial, but I wouldn't say I was much of a hacker. My family runs a college prep business, very, very ironically, and that's something that I spent most of my middle and high school helping run. So I always kind of knew that business was in, I guess, my blood. And it was something that I wanted to do later in life. But at the time, transparently, when I got into Harvard, the only thing I was good at was like talking to people and skipping class, but talk to girls. So I just thought I was going to be an investment banker and work at Goldman Sachs. But
Yep.
but things changed pretty quickly. I ended up getting a suspension for sneaking out of a school field trip, which got me rescinded. And later, our family kind of got together and just said, "Hey, let's tell everybody I took a gap year, and just we'll stay inside and we'll just program, and you can go to a different school and you can just say you wanted to program." Uh, so so that's what I did.
That's pretty tough. I mean, you're kind of like trapped, and you have so much pressure from your family. You're a young kid. You're like 17 at this time.
Yeah, 17, 18. I mean, it was tough, but yeah, actually, it was pretty fucking tough. So it was
Yeah.
like almost an entire year of me just like living in my home, and then not really leaving.
Is that when you started coding?
Yeah, well, that's when I started coding pretty seriously. But before this, I was doing random Python stuff, but I wasn't actually taking it that seriously. I wouldn't consider myself a hacker at all before then.
Interesting. And was this Year of Code was kind of blowing up at this time? Is that right? Like code.org stuff. Was that
I
in school? Like how did you get into programming?
I remember that. Programming was just sort of something that I felt like I was forced to do. Like I was going to spend a year inside my house and just watch or like just me and my computer. So it was either just jack off all year or learn how to code.
Wow. So you spent a lot of time coding. And did you build any projects that you launched during this time?
Not any big ones that took off.
And did you have any failures of projects that didn't take off? Is that when you got onto Twitter?
Actually, I got on Twitter like 2 months ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I got on Twitter in like January. I this winter break, I went to San Francisco, and everyone in San Francisco was on
Got
Twitter.
it.
So
Got
I
it.
got them
Damn.
pretty.
Wow. And now you're blowing up on Twitter every day. Very exciting. So, okay. So you decide, you're kind of a high school rebel, but you're like a high school genius as well, right? And your family's in the college prep business. You get accepted to, one of the hardest universities to get into, Harvard. you sneak out of a field trip because you like to have fun, and you get caught, and now all of a sudden you get rescinded from Harvard. So you're spending a year in solitude, telling everyone you're taking a gap year. You're learning to code. You're shipping apps. Nothing's taking off yet. And so after that year, what do you decide to do?
Yeah, the family and I, for a while, I thought college wasn't in my cards, and it's like a sign from God. But after a while, like things get pretty lonely. You end up wanting to talk to people your age. So I ended up going to community college in California. I just thought like maybe I transfer to Berkeley later. Just like regardless, I just wanted to meet some people my age. So
Hmm.
that's what I ended up doing. This is a really fun year. I think community college is slept on by a lot of people, but yeah, I think I got a great education. I spent more time at community college than I will end up spending at any other actual university. Had a great time.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, community college is awesome. I did community college as well. Bay Area is awesome too. So you met some pretty cracked people at community college too, right? I mean, is your co-founder from DVC?
No, but all the founding engineers are right now.
Wow. So what did you find? You mentioned this in your tweet thread about it, but you found that there was a lot of really talented people in the community college ecosystem. How
Yeah.
did you meet them?
Um, Everyone who sort of programmed was sort of like in the same circles, and if you just looked hard enough or like you talk to enough people, then you would kind of eventually find yourself in this circle of like neurodivergent, like furry types, and
Hmm.
these people are ridiculously good at programming. Like I would say, without a doubt, they would be better than pretty much every single Columbia CS major.
Wow. And so okay, so you're becoming friends, you're building projects with these people. You are fast forward a little bit. Now you are, getting ready to transfer, and so you're accepted to Columbia for CS. When did the idea for interview coder come into play?
So as soon as I got to Columbia, I sort of knew that I wasn't going to be able to graduate. I'd spent so much time out of the traditional education pipeline. I thought like the best thing I can do here is find a co-founder or a wife. Still working on the wife, but for a co-founder, like just like the first 50 smart-looking dudes I saw said, "Hey, do you want to start a company with me?" And one of them fortunately said yes. That ended up being Neil, who I've been doing like pretty much everything with. Um, and Neil and I were hacking on a bunch of stuff all semester, and nothing was really taking off. And at one point, we just kind of sat together and said, "Look, we have to think of like first principles. Let's build our distribution first and then build something like working back from our distribution." Um, so we spent like a long, long time just like talking about what will go viral. And we kept on coming back to interview coder. Initially, we were pretty hesitant to do it just because it was like, it was extremely risky what we were trying to do. Like we would be burning all our career and all our education, but it just made sense. Like if you wanted to go viral, then you'd have to do something like this. So we built out a really quick MVP. We sort of knew the technology was there. Um, and it only took us 4 days to build the initial MVP actually. And then we spent like the entire fall recruiting cycle tweaking the user experience and adding a bunch of bells and whistles to it.
Wow. And so this is what are the dates for this? So this is last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so last year. So this is post ChatGPT. This is post Cursor. You built this in 4 days. Was like yeah. How much of it was? I mean, you're both developers, but how much were you leveraging Cursor? What tools did you use to build the first version?
Yeah, yeah. Cursor Claude. I mean, the first version is exactly the same as the second version, or like
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
version that you see. It was just Cursor Claude, and at that point, we didn't have a database because like, what database do you need when it's just answer the problem you see on the screen?
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more of like what the original intention was and how people are using it, and then we'll go into yeah, when it blew up and stuff like that. I want to hear about that. But yeah, would you tell us a little bit more about sort of like who was the main user, what was the problem, and why did you think it would go viral?
Yeah, Neil was just telling me this story, this stupid, stupid story about how he was doing an interview and kind of took his phone out, took a picture because he didn't know what he was doing. And he didn't really care about it. He just took his phone out, took a picture, and just like did that. And we just both kind of laughed at that for a little bit. That's like so ridiculous. Why did you do that? And we obviously knew the technology existed, but people weren't really trying to crack distribution. Like it was all really, really word of mouth type stuff. And so obviously being like a CS major, we know like everyone is busting their ass trying to cheat. So we figured like it would be very, very easy to build a tool that would just like do this for everyone. The problem was the most self-evident part. Uh the the whether it would go viral or not, this was actually the part that was concerning us the most. In fact, even after I did post like the infamous Amazon video, and we were getting all these disciplinary hearings from Columbia, there was a period where it didn't really blow up, and we were just sort of like tweaking in our dorms, like holy fuck, we just burned our entire career for 20,000 views. It's over, and we thought we were done.
Wow. So okay. So there's I guess at Columbia, there's probably like is there like a few thousand CS grads every year?
I think there's something closer to 400 CS grads every year.
Okay, 400 CS grads. So there's probably like 50,000 per year. I forget the exact number, but like the TAM initially is CS students that are preparing for developer jobs post college, right? And these are all for the recruiting cycle. They're doing nowadays like leak code interviews, right? Can you describe like what that is, compared to like a whiteboarding interview in person?
Yeah, a leak code interview typically for the bigger tech companies is like an attempt at a super standardized way of like measuring applicants' problem solving ability. They'll ask you riddles about data structures and algorithms, and then they'll sort of like quiz you on how fast and how quickly and how accurately can you solve this riddle. Um, it was probably a good metric 20 years ago, but like since people have been studying up on the riddles have only gotten harder, and they've gotten like to a point of absurdity right now where you sort of like are just forced to memorize the riddles instead of actually knowing how to program. And it's not really a measure of anything except your willingness to go back and memorize things.
Right. It's almost like standardized tests for getting a job. And it's like if you can crack and if you can master the SAT, definitely is hard to do. But a lot of those same skills transfer to here. And what you're saying is like that is not what defines a good engineer. It's
Yeah.
kind of and they're wasting a lot of time just preparing for that, right? Like people are like probably killing themselves preparing for these interviews.
Yeah, I'd say it's a lot less correlative than the SATs, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
And okay, and so you and Neil were kind of like, this is bullshit. People shouldn't be wasting so much time doing this, and so you're helping people basically get through that part of the interview. Like, what percentage of the hiring process is based on that? And tell us too about how many job offers you got going through this process.
Yeah, it depends on what level you're at. For interns, your process will almost exclusively be leak code interviews. For something like a senior staff engineer, who there are actually a couple of senior staff engineers who've been using the tool. That might be more like 30% of the process. But either way, it's just like a big part of the pipeline. I ended up using it to get offers from Capital One, Meta, TikTok, and Amazon.
Wow. And like, what was the ballpark average first year salary?
For one of these companies, I
Yeah.
think it's like 160K TC.
So it's like almost $600,000 or more worth of offers from your tool.
It's an amazing way to put it. Yeah.
Wow. So you generated $600,000 worth of offer from Interview Coder. And how many other people generated offers through your tool?
Yeah, right now we have about 2,500 users.
Wow.
And there have been very few instances of like just complaints.
Wow. So this is like creating, like we're talking like $35 million plus in like economic value, right? Of people using your tool to like get these massively high paying jobs. But the big tech companies didn't like this. So like what happened? So you were right. You did go viral. You built something people wanted, and I think you said it earlier. You're like, shit. We just burned our credentials.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So you get 20,000 hits, 2,500 people using it. Did you start selling it? Was it free?
When we initially launched the MVP, it was strictly a distribution play, so we made it free and open source. And then we just kind of didn't touch it for a little while because it didn't go as viral as we hoped. And we also weren't like super ready to do like the whole like Amazon like burn all your bridges stuff. But at one point we just kind of like kept going back to it, and like this is obviously the best thing we've done. It was working. Let's just push harder. So we ended up like just doing the whole marketing stuff. Like all right, let's take this to the end, and we ended up paywalling it. Sorry, I totally forgot your initial question.
Oh yeah, no, I was wondering sort of like, okay, after you launch and go viral, yeah, what did growth look like from there in terms of monetization? So
Okay.
first it was open source,
Yeah.
you were getting a bunch of traction, then you paywalled it. And so did people start paying?
Yeah, pretty instantly. when it was the problem with having it free and open source is that people have to put in their own API key, and then they have to pay. And we figured if they're paying money to Sam Altman, then they might as well put the money to us. So
Right.
we initially paywalled it and made it very cheap, $20 a month. But and as soon as we launched it, we got a healthy amount of users. I think the third day after we made it 20 a month, we were at $700. We did like a $700 day, which is pretty good for us.
Wow.
Um, and like all of this is pre-Twitter. So I guess as far as growth timeline goes, we launched on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn seems to be doing well for us because this is like the most controversial LinkedIn post you'll ever see. Um, and then, but our accounts inevitably get taken down because it's the most controversial. It's like not really a LinkedIn thing. Um, and it gets taken down before we can actually ride the growth curve up on LinkedIn. But it did do some numbers on LinkedIn. We
Oh,
try on
wow.
Reddit, a couple subreddits, but we inevitably get banned from all like the CS subreddits because we're advertising a cheating tool. And it wasn't really, and but either way, like the initial growth, just because like it was growing pretty rapidly, pretty quickly. And the initial growth from that was enough to get us to, I think we were sitting at like 10K MRR when we even posted the Amazon video. Um,
Wow.
we do end up, and this is all like pre-Twitter. And then we do end up posting the Amazon video and doing all this shit with Amazon. And Twitter is where we really take off because Elon lets you post anything.
Yeah, wow. So, okay, so you post on LinkedIn, you go viral, you got 10K MRR, and then the Amazon video comes out. So tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I record myself using the tool throughout the entire Amazon internship process. And like I'm extremely blatantly using the tool, and I posted like the full uncut technical interview so you can see how
Oh man.
powerful the tool is.
Wow. And and Amazon, how did they feel about that?
Yeah, they're pretty mad. I posted a video on my YouTube, and it ended up doing about like 10, 15, 20,000 views. And then an Amazon executive saw it and reported me to Columbia. And they sent this long letter saying like, hey, like essentially heavily insinuating if you don't expel this kid or punish this kid, Amazon's not going to hire from Columbia anymore. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. So
That is ridiculous.
I tweeted the letter on my Twitter, and that ended up going super, super viral. And since then, I've just been posting updates about the situation, and it's grown my account to like almost 40,000 followers.
Wow. So let's talk about that for a second. Okay, so you build the tool, you're getting thousands of users, you're at 10K MRR, you post a live, unedited version of your Amazon interview using Interview Coder. It goes viral. Amazon exec sees it, and they report you to Columbia. And like you've like, you know, you are a risk taker, and so you've sort of dealt with this like bureaucracy at multiple levels now, right? At high school, Harvard, and now you're seeing again at Columbia. And so what was your approach now when you kind of get this, you're kind of put in this unfair situation where Amazon is like threatening Columbia unless they do something to you? Like what's up with that? Like how did you, what happened after that?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the decision making was pretty clear. I think a lot of people think it was riskier than it was to actually post a letter. But you must realize that I was at a point where all the bridges were burned already. And if Columbia was going to expel me, like the best thing for me was to try and make the letter go viral so that my virality could protect me. This was
Right.
like the cleanest out for me. And
Right.
in fact, like I haven't gotten any cease and desist yet, and Columbia has still not expelled me yet. So I think it's the only thing that I could have done.
I bet they are so at a loss for what the hell to do, right? Because it's like, as Columbia, do you side with your customer, your student, right? Or do you side with your other customer of like, okay, people go to Columbia for the opportunities that happen after. So if they lose Amazon, like what happens to Columbia, right? So they're kind of probably in this weird position where, and I wonder legally too, like if they probably could get in trouble for expelling you for something that is like, so there's no guidelines probably in the Columbia charter that say you can't help people get jobs, right? They're almost like why would you expel an alumni or a student for helping people succeed economically, right? Like you're creating millions and millions of dollars in economic value for the community. So it's kind of crazy. They're in a weird situation. So I think, but the way you've handled it has been pretty incredible. And I know there's you're getting a lot of mixed messages on Twitter, right? Like some people are super happy for you. Some people are furious. How does that that helps it go viral. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like inevitable that something like this is going to be controversial. I think at the limit, like the most viral person in the world is going to have like 51% of people either liking or disliking him, and the other half is going to be not the case. Controversy,
Yeah.
you need controversy for attention.
Wow. Okay. So what's the latest update on the most, and you are going extremely viral with like all of your posts. So what's the latest post that you did about this?
Latest post I think was Columbia deciding to not let me attend the hearing and moving it over to last Friday. It's been a pretty hectic week because I've been like doing some fundraising. But outside of that, we're still waiting on the results. I thought they'd get back to me the day of Friday, but it seems like they're waiting till like for a while.
Interesting.
Maybe they'll send something Monday.
Okay. Wow. And during this whole process, you are it's kind of crazy, right? What sort of investors and like startup community values and what these sort of larger corporate companies value, right? And so like a lot of your story of these risks that you're taking and helping people and like building these tools and going viral, like that is celebrated in the startup community. And
Yeah.
like it's crazy to see Amazon sort of like see that complain about that. But like you got involved with Z Fellows. So when did you get involved with Z Fellows?
Yeah, I'm wearing the hat right now. Fellas was
Let's go.
in I was in the January batch, which is the latest batch as of today. Z Fellows was really good. I highly recommend the program. Corey was our first check and like truly our first believer. He was probably like the guy that sparked everything that happened downstream of this.
Wow. And so was this for Interview Coder?
Um, I think pro, pro, I have no idea. Like Z Fellows doesn't really accept based on the like he
Oh
kind of
yeah.
just
So
starts
tell us
based on
more about
vibe.
Z Fellows. So what is that? How did you find Z Fellows? How did they find you? And what's that program all about?
I interned at a startup, Nucleus Genomics, last summer. I thought I had been following them for a while, and Keon, the CEO, posted a tweet saying, "Hey, looking for interns." And Keon was also a former Z fellow, and like there's like talks of Corey Levy, the guy who runs the program for the entirety of the summer. So I just kind of knew like if I wanted to be serious about startups and I wanted to give it an honest shot, then probably Z fellows is the first place that I'd look. So I went to Z fellows, and it kind of like gave me the boldness to start everything, I'd say.
Wow. And is that an in-person program or is it virtual?
I think sometimes they do. I think right now they're leaning towards doing more in-person batches.
Okay, awesome. So you do the January batch, and okay, so Interview Coder kind of explodes. It sort of puts your work on the map. Like it's going viral. Lots of individuals are using it. You're growing your following and audience on X. You get to over 10K MRR. Now all this controversy is happening at your school, and so what are you up to today? So today you you're working on a new startup.
Yeah. Interview coder by nature. I mean, the product works, and it we'll keep posting like new patches to keep it undetectable. But realistically, right now is a good place for it. I think the most interesting thing about Interview Coder is the experience breakthroughs that we found. I think in reality, we spent so much time trying to figure out like how can an interviewer not know that you're using AI. We ended up just developing like a really cool experience for we think using AI, and we strongly suspect that this scales to pretty much every single vertical, and we're starting with like the entirety of conversations. So, for example, like I could be using my little Interview Coder 2.0 right here to help me answer all
Oh,
your
I love it. Oh, wow. Very interesting. Awesome. Do you have a name yet?
Yeah, we're calling it Pike.
Pike. Okay. How do you spell it?
Pike.
Pike. Awesome. Well, congrats on the new startup. That's really exciting. And so, okay, so today you're in the Columbia dorms. You're awaiting, what's next. You're working on your new startup, Pike. Where can we follow along on the rest of your journey?
Yeah, everything will be posted on my Twitter. I'm_Roy_Lee.
Awesome, Roy. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story. It's like it's a huge inspiration, and we're really excited to follow along and everything that you're working on. Good luck with
Awesome.
Columbia.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Roy.